Welcome to Kojo's Pre-Algebra, and today we're going to talk about slope-intercept form. And before we get into that, the first thing I want you to recognize at this point, you should be able to graph the line for the equation, the solution, if I just give you the slope and a point. And you would do that by going to the point on the coordinate plane and plotting the point, -1, -2. And then the slope, since the slope is the relationship between 2 points, then you should be able to graph the next point by simply going, the rise is 1 and the run is 3. So the rise is 1, 1, 2, 3. I could do another point, the rise is 1, 1, 2, 3, to get an idea. But then I would sketch that line, pardon the crookedness of it. Then I should be able to graph, if I give you the slope 2/3 and the y-intercept -3, because the y-intercept is a point on the coordinate plane, right? It's going to be x is 0 and y is -3. So if I give you the slope and the y-intercept, then you should be able to graph the equation of the line. Or graph the line, the solution to the equation. So I go to the y-intercept, and then I go slope, rise, rise 2, run 3, 1, 2, 3. And again, I just need 2 points to sketch the solution. And that would be the line that would represent the solutions to that equation if we knew what it was. Alright, so think about that last one. Think about the last one I gave you. If you know the slope and the y-intercept, then if you know the slope and the y-intercept, then you can graph a line. Because that's inevitably, that is a point and then the relationship of the next point. So if I give you the y-intercept and the slope, then you can graph the solution to an equation. But shouldn't you be able to isolate the y in an equation and have both? Yes. Because x will be 0. Then you'll have the y-intercept. Which leads us to slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. If we put any linear equation into y equals mx plus b, and notice I said linear, the variables both have to be to the first power. And they are, y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. Remember, when we found the slope, given 2 points, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, m was the slope. Well look, m is the slope. X is the variable, plus b, they've determined that this number, it'll just be a number, is going to be the y-intercept. You need to memorize that. Slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b, where the coefficient of y must be a positive 1. Let me say that again. The coefficient of y must be a positive 1. Remember, y is a variable. B is the y-intercept. Alright, so let's look at this. Woohoo, I think I erased it when I put it up here. So here's slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. They give you the equation 2x plus y equals 4. You have to be able to manipulate the equation and put it into slope-intercept form by simply isolating the y and solving for y. When we do so, in this case, we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. But when I line it up, I don't line it up as y equals 4 minus 2x. And for simplicity's sake, because I got all these notes over here, I shifted this over here. You do understand that would be directly underneath, I hope. So I get y equals -2x plus 4. I put it in the form of y equals mx plus b. I don't put 4 minus 2x. Y equals mx plus b. The variable x goes first. Now the slope then is, if this is a positive 1 as a coefficient of y, I've isolated the y, then you automatically know that the slope is m. M is the coefficient of the x, which is -2, which would be -2 over 1. So we know right away if the slope is negative, the line is falling from left to right. And then the y-intercept, the b, is the 4, which I've called up to this point at the constant of the equation. That's the number. Just the number by itself. Sometimes students get confused and think, oh, the y is the y-intercept. No, the y is the variable that you're finding the coordinate points for x and y. So 4, the important thing you need to note here is the sign. So the y-intercept is a positive 4, it is not a negative 4. So here we go. It says you isolate the y, then plug in what you know to find out what you don't know. Well, right now we know everything. That's coming. Okay? But I want you to remember that little phrase. Plug in what you know to find out what you don't know. To graph this, we would know that the point, the y-intercept is 4. 1, 2, 3. Let me use a different marker. 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that the slope is falling because it's negative. So I'm going to rise over run. I'm going to drop 2, 1, 2, run 1. And you know what? Maybe I'll do it one more time. I'm going to drop 2 and run 1. Now my numbers aren't exact here, so maybe I won't do that. So I just sketch my line. But what must I put on this line? 2x plus y equals 4. I don't write it as the slope-intercept form. I write the original equation, 2x plus y equals 4, on the graph of the line to show that is the solution to the equation 2x plus y equals 4. Okay, look at this one. 3x minus 4y equals 12. I'm going to subtract negative, and I want to graph this, so I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Notice I have to bring down my negative 4y here equals negative 3x plus 12. See how I put that in order? Mx plus b. But this doesn't have a coefficient of positive 1, so I have to undo it. And I'm manipulating. You should be able to do this at this point. Manipulate the equation to the way you want it to look. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Everything by 4. So when I do that, this cancels and becomes positive 1y. Negative 3 divided by negative 4 becomes 3/4 x. Positive 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. So my slope is 3/4, because that's the m. And my y-intercept is b, and it's negative 3. So I go to the graph, 1, 2, 3, and I plot my point. That's my y-intercept. And my slope is positive. So my line, the solution to my equation, should be rising from left to right. Because I rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and I run 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What must I put on this line? The original equation. 3x minus 4y equals 12. Now we'll get into that in our next video lesson as to why I have to put that. Okay. When you show the solution of the equation on the graph, be sure to write the original equation given on the graph, which I just said, right? Not the slope-intercept form. Now, if that's what they give you, because sometimes right now you'll be given slope-intercept form, the equation will already be in slope-intercept form. So when I give you that, then you can just write that for now. But remember, there are certain formulas you need to remember at this point in time that you should know. Slope formula, which is slope m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus y sub 1, and slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. All right, I want you to pause the video. Watch out, Mr. Al. And, oh, you notice I got Mr. Cow here today, too. Little buddy from Tennessee brought him up with me. So you try to find m and b, the slope and the y-intercept. You're going to isolate these y's and put them in slope-intercept form. Pause the video, come back, and I'll give you the solutions. Welcome back. Instead of me doing all the work, I'm just going to give you the answers. The first one, the slope equals negative 1/10, and the y-intercept is 0. That is a very slow fall from left to right. It's not very steep, is it? I'm going to rise negative 1 and then run 10. So it's a very slow falling hill, grade. You could think of that potentially as a handicap ramp. But we're going down. Okay, in the second one you should have m equals -2 and the y-intercept is 9. This one is pretty steep fall because we're dropping 2 for every 1 we rise. Oh, excuse me. We're dropping 2 for every 1 we run. So we're falling from left to right because it's -2 over 1. At this point in time, you can put -2 as your slope. You don't need to write -2 over 1. Now this was 4. I hope you got that. X minus 2y equals 4. So if that's the case, m equals 1/2 and b equals -2. Again, it's a significant rise from left to right. The slope is positive, so the line is rising. All right, what I want you to do is I want you to bring in 2 things that you've learned about slope-intercept form for our discussion, and bring in 1 more question you may have for slope-intercept form. All right, have a great day. I look forward to seeing you in class.